Better time than now. Welcome to Rally the Tartans, where ancient echoes rise with every throw, where clans gather, steel meets stone, and the past walks beside us. We're lifting culture, throwing tradition, and celebrating the warriors, the history, and the heart of the Highland Games. I'm your host, Michael Paul Wolfgar Lewis. Let's rally the Tartans. What an amazing intro. And before we get too deep into this, and because of the title of this episode being lighting the torch or light the flame, just where we get our start in the sport, we got to give a huge shout out and a dedication of this episode to David Andrews. Was an athlete, he was a judge, and he was a mentor to many in Southwest Florida. Dunedin Highland Games, which is where I fell in love with the sport at myself, did a memorial for him earlier this year. David passed last year, and it's crazy to think he's already been gone for a year, or almost a year. December 8th, the very next day, I was offered my first high school coaching position for the throws team, and not a football team, funny enough. But all that was because of him. So this episode here is definitely dedicated to him in his memory, and getting out there and being active and doing everything you can to make this community better. So, David, I hope we all make you proud, buddy. And kind of getting into that, let's just kind of figure out, who am I? My name is Michael Paul Wolfgar Lewis. I have no authority in the Highland Games whatsoever. I am just a super fan. I love the sport. I've been following it for a long time, doing my genealogy, ancestry, going through my Scottish roots. I am a firearm instructor by trade, as you can see if you're following along on our YouTube or any of our other visuals. Wolfgar Concealment is a company that I own and operate as a traveling firearm training company. We do a lot of different things for small kids and youth groups, all the way to churches and businesses and private citizens and law enforcement and federal law enforcement. And there's just a lot to that. You won't hear me plug them often, but that is the background that I come from. Obviously, I get to grow a beard, so it's all private. But I'm a Highland Games enthusiast, and ever since Hurricane Ian, I've had the chance to get out, and I've had a chance to do it, and I fell in love with it in Florida, and I just don't get enough of it when I had to move up to southern Indiana, where I'm currently at, even though I found some amazing friends here in southern Indiana. They've even featured me, if you can see, on a local news sports journal or sports magazine about just my love for the Highland Games. So I guess it is infectious. I will say one of the most beautiful moments for me happened. A guy that I coach with, his team is actually going to the Little League World Series. The softball team he and I coached, half the girls are on the team that were on our team then, going to the World Series. He seen that and shot me a message talking about how it reminded him of his father and them going back, to the Highland Games in North Carolina, and it just reminded me of what this is all about. So you're going to hear a lot of that going forward as far as what to expect. I also sell life insurance. Obviously, I'm a firearm instructor, so I got to have something else that helps out and goes along with it. So you'll hear me in a whole bunch of things. A high school coach. I do coach football, and I coach the throws team, the shot put, the discus, and things of that nature. I am not perfect at those at all. Not even remotely close to being perfect to those at all whatsoever. So I guess just kind of letting you guys know what to expect going forward. I would love to start breaking down a couple of videos and things like that I've seen online. We just had the wonderful Grandfather Mountain come through, and of course we want to talk about that, but this show is going to be set up more than just that, more than just athletes, and moving forward you're going to see us talk today, and Dawn is going to have to forgive me. I am not sure how our interview, if it is complete. If not, don't worry, Dawn, the FSA is a big part of why I am where I am. And I'm a huge fan of theirs, so we will have Dawn on regularly. Dawn from the FSA will be on with us today, a special guest, but moving forward, we'll have athletes and entrepreneurs like Jason Profogli, who was a great Masters athlete, but moving to the lightweight and just killing it. Our next episode after that is going to be, more cultural specific. We're going to have a Clan Campbell representative on with us and talk about the clan societies and their natures in the game and how one feeds off of the other and how we make this a big popular sport once again. Because again, if you haven't heard me say it yet on social media, I believe this sport belongs on ESPN. Today, maybe not, but soon, very soon, it will be. After that, we're going to, again, pay homage to some people that lit my torch and lit my flame and got me going. Kerry Overfelt is from Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky. I have his book right here. It's one of the first books that I ever bought. And one of the funniest things in there, maybe not funny for most folks, is his first job was in a tobacco field in Kentucky, and so was mine. So I know the sentiment. I get where you're coming from. But we're going to also feature other folks, some cultural things, some vendors, some artisans, some folks that I know that make crafts. I am in the firearm world. I know a lot of great leather makers, and they make a lot of things. For the Highland Games world. So we'll talk with everybody, festival event organizers and things of that nature. I want to talk with more kid athletes and more folks that are trying to raise the bar of the sport, of course, but I also want to talk to the novice and see how their transition into the game was, because that's important, and how we build a bigger network and a longer lasting community. I want to see games last for 50 to 100 years, not 5 or 10 and then die out. Have a strong support system around them, and that's kind of what we should expect out of this show, is trying to help build that. Do we know what that is today and have all the answers? Heck no, but we're in the game, and we're here to make sure that we just continue to grow the sport in the best way possible. So again, those are some of the things that you'll be able to actually get out of this channel. Hopefully you love it. Hopefully it's great for you. So we'll see how that moves along. I do have a lot of folks on a short list of definitely people that I have throughout the, hey, would you like to come be a part of this? Because I respect them and I appreciate what they've done. You'll see some of those folks in their ads pop up today, and some you won't, because I've had some errors getting these things together, and I apologize, because it's been 20 years since I've been in the studio. I did work on a political talk show for a short period of time. Well, it was a couple of years. I guess it wasn't a short period of time, but it was a period of time. So regardless, we are going to have a great time doing this. Okay, it's going to be fantastic. So let's get into a little bit of a recap, because that's always important and that's always fun to do. Oh, and of course, a episode 1 blunder, bad transition from the recap. We're coming into the recap, so I apologize, and I hope you guys understand what we're really trying to accomplish here at Rally the Tartans. And I don't want to be just another show host, that sits here and just reads off of NASGA or one of my favorites, HeavyAthlete.com. I want to actually kind of engage a little bit more and make sure that we're really talking about what's going on. I do want to highlight who podiumed. I want to talk about it. And I want to show clips on this show of some of the best throws of the day. And those might not be from people that podiumed. That might have been from some amateur that has just been at it for the last 6 to 8 months in their first year journey and is already hitting bigger PRs for themselves. And kind of just celebrate everybody around the culture, and not just our pros, even though we have some amazing pro athletes. This past month, there have been 2 major games in North America, here in Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina, and then the 160th in Nova Scotia. or celebrating their 160th year in Nova Scotia. So those are two legendary Highland Games where this matters, and it's mattered for a really long time, and we don't have that in every single community. And that's what I want this Highland Games recap to really be about. We should be taking 15 to 20 minutes every episode, to have 2 weeks of highlights. Again, you'll hear me beat this, to death. I think the Highland Games should be on ESPN. How do you make that long day, that 8-9 hour day, 10 hours for some athletes? Because I know when I get there, I like to get to the field early. It is a full day of warm up, cool down, warm up, cool down, and I want to make sure that I'm ready for that. So how do you put that on ESPN? And those are what these game recaps are going to be. It's going to be our highlight reels. It's going to be, throwers celebrating throwers. So that's really what we want to see. And that's what we want this community to be, because, that's what I've experienced every time I've taken the field with other Highland Games athletes. So that's what I just want to get into and make sure that we have that moment to actually acknowledge what these Highland Games recaps are going to be for. And because, again, I guess I'm blaming myself for making excuses. Episode 1, I don't have the awesome video, because if you're watching this on YouTube, this should be a heck of a lot less of my face and a whole lot more of the amazing athletes that are actually in this sport that we call amateur, that I call savage and amazing. From our lightweight men to our women to our junior throwers, there are junior world records being broken every year, and it's fantastic. They should be smashed every single year. So let's hope that I do my job correctly, and by next week, when we're bringing on Jason Perfogli, a world champion in my opinion, and in the books, he holds some good records. When we bring him on, hopefully we'll be able to highlight some more games, because we do have some big ones coming up. So just stick with us on that, and we'll make sure to to cover all of this in the episode 2 recap of getting our butts kicked by creating a podcast. But it's all for you guys, for the guys and girls that put on those tartans and go support their families and their friends and their culture and what this game means to them, about just getting better every day, even when you're not wearing the tartan and you're in the gym and you're throwing the iron around. That's important. So again, we'll talk about a little bit more, and our amazing guest, Dawn, who is coming on the show here in just a moment for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest probably doesn't need an introduction whatsoever. Dawn Alstead-Schule, president of the Foundation of Scottish Athletics, also known as the Caber Queen of Florida. She is one of the most helpful individuals I have personally ever met. And when we talk about lighting the flame, she is the individual that pointed me in the right direction. She is the individual that introduced me to David Andrews, and she has still supported my personal efforts in trying to help grow the Louisville metro area with our very own throwing club, the Kentuckiana Highlander Heavies Throwing Club. Yes, it is a mouthful. So is what we do. But I'm so proud to bring on Miss Dawn so everybody can get to know her like I do, and we can see how we can all support each other in this wonderful Highland Games community. I hope you all enjoy this interview as much as I did. So I think more of the pressure is going to be on me, because we don't have video for you, Miss Dawn, and that is my fault. Again, this is episode 1, so I hope everybody out there gives me a pass. This is the Sunday before our launch day. It is my first podcast in this realm here, and it is an amazing opportunity for me to just kind of highlight what lit my torch. It is the first podcast. You were the one that got me started in the Highland Games as far as pointing me in the right direction, and introducing me to David Andrews and the Celtic Strong Throwing group there, and got me started. So, to me, this is super important just because our conversation kind of started my whole journey here with throwing. So I guess just to kind of take us back, maybe you can kind of start me off with how you started in the Highland Games.
Well, sure. So I was actually dating a guy who was a Highland athlete, and he invited me to a clinic, and I absolutely loved it. And about 3 weeks later, I threw up my first game, the Northeast Florida game up in Clay County, Florida. I actually work, everybody knows I work right by that field, by the way. But anyway, that would be my first game. And long story short, lost a boyfriend, kept the sport.
So that's so amazing because you went from losing a boyfriend to not only being now the president for the Foundation of Scottish Athletics, but also a creator and major player in Clan Kringle. So what an amazing journey, start and journey that is. So kudos to you. That's that's so fantastic. Just being, kind of the heartbeat of this episode with your work and your mission. What is Clan Kringle? What's it all about? To, lay it out for us so everybody can know.
So I just had this idea. I would see some of the groups up north doing Christmas games for Toys for Tots, which is wonderful. But I thought I would love to do like a Christmas game that was actually like a Christmas party for the athletes. But instead of doing like a national or global charity that we did something, we would do something local. So pour into our local communities that host games throughout the year for us. So wait for the athletes to get back to the community. And that's where Clan Kringle all started from. It was just an idea of a way to have fun with the athletes at Christmas time and also to pour into our community.
So that's such a fantastic story, and I hope you guys continue to do that year after year. Just kind of building on your background, I think when I first met you within the Foundation for Scottish Athletics, you were a secretary or a treasurer. So you've definitely moved around and kept the spirit going. What is it that keeps you involved?
So to be honest, it's the athletes. I love them. You know, my family is in Virginia, Montana, and I've raised my children here in Florida and kind of built my own family. And when I started competing in Highland Games, the athletes that I competed with just became part of my family. And I just felt like this need to pour into my family, you know.
Yeah.
So that's how I really got started. And I did backyard games first during COVID because so many athletes were depressed that there was no game for them. So I started doing backyard games. The first big backyard game I did during COVID was at Ormond Beach, and we had over 70 athletes come in across the United States to attend that game. People just wanted to compete and so badly, and we'd missed each other so much. So then it went from there to going to the FSA, asked me to come on board, and I was their secretary, and then would go into social media with that. And then I was voted on as president, and this is my actual second term as president. I was reelected this summer, actually. So I have 3 more years to go. So as
Congratulations on
president, and we'll
that.
see what happens from there.
Yeah, for sure. Congratulations on that. So, obviously you're a giving person. With the Clan Kringle thing. What about the Foundation of Scottish Athletics? Besides me kind of vouching for them because I had a good experience. What kind of support do they give to athletes and just the community involved in the sporting event side of it?
Yeah, and great question, and I'm so glad you asked that because we do have some new things coming along. So the foundation was made years ago, and Florida is such a unique state with Scottish athletics because we have like three standalone, I call them standalone games, where they have their own ED, their own staff, their own equipment. But then there's so many other Highland Games. In fact, we just picked up a new one, the city of Deltona. And instead of trying to go out and find their own AD or whatever, or borrow an AD, they just hire the foundation and we supply all the staff for them. So it became, I mean, it was just such a great idea. We carry the insurance, we carry the equipment, we carry the staff, we train the staff, and we just travel up and down the Florida, the Florida coast, both sides of the coast, going all the way down by close to Miami and then all the way up to St. Augustine. So what it's done, it has put a name and a face out there for different communities. So if they want to have a Celtic festival, they know who to contact, and we help not just with the Highland Games, but like with the one coming up in Deltona. They're like, any way you can help us, let us know. Well, I have vendors contacting me saying, hey, I want to be involved in Deltona. So we're sending them vendors. We're also, because we do marketing through our social media and through our website, so now we're able to help promote the games even more. So it's another layer for marketing for them. So we're able to provide in like safe, high quality Scottish games, but how we give back to the athletes, we try to keep our registration pretty low. And I know people are like, why do you do that? Because as a single mom, I was raising six kids and I was a Highland athlete. I could only afford a certain amount of money for my weekend fun activities. And I realized that I have a heart for weekend warriors. It's like I tell people, I may have an athlete who's going to be a B until he turns 40 because he just loves the sport,
Yeah.
and he may never go to a championship, but he's bringing all of his friends, and his friends are throwing out on the field, and when the audience is looking, unless it's announced, they don't know who your pro or who your amateur
Right.
athletes are. Of course, they could probably tell by form and, but anyway, that so I try to keep it affordable for the athletes so that they can bring their families and their friends and have a great time. But one thing the board now is looking at is transparency is very important to me. And I think if an athlete comes on the field and they're paying $35 to compete, that's what we charge right now. Um, if they pay 35, they need to know where that $35 goes to.
Yeah.
So I asked the board to go over some different line items of how we can show them how the money is divided. And one thing that I'm proposing is that we start a scholarship fund. Out of that registration that comes in, that a certain percentage, let's say it's 10%. I'm just saying this 10% of it goes towards the scholarship fund. That way, when we do have athletes that qualify for championships, they can come to us. And I'm not saying we'll pay all of their travel expenses, but we could put a certain amount towards it. Um, Another thing that I've thought of, and this is just kind of pie in the sky right now, but Florida has a lot of training groups happening. And one thing we saw, the Dunedin Highland Games has just taken off. Had, in over 100 athletes register for that game. I think 90 actually showed up, 90 plus showed up. But I have been bombarded by email from her website, people saying, I want to train, I want to come to Dunedin. So, which is, and that's one of your stomping grounds was
Yeah,
Dunedin.
yeah. Listen,
Yeah.
Dunedin is where I fell in love with it. After Hurricane Ian, I said, you know what? I have time. I was a small business owner before that. I lost some stuff in the hurricane, forced time off, went to the Highland Games and said, oh, this is my life now.
Right. Yes, and so, and I think another thing that happened is we had the caber challenge. We have a dedicated caber field at Dunedin,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, people line up like three or four back to watch caber. This year, they had a huge set of bleachers up there, and it was packed. And people love caber, and it's just bringing more people in. But you know, we have, let's say, an athlete, Joe comes on, he's going to do practice there on the field, and he has his weights. But if a woman shows up, he may not be carrying the 21 pound or the 28 pound weight. So, what I would love to do now, I'm just pitching this to the board is eventually, if we have enough money in the bank, to purchase just some extra equipment where training groups could check it out.
Yes.
We need a 28. We have a woman showing up, and we can give that to them to practice, and then they turn it back in when they're done.
So,
However, that's going to work. But that is one of
So
my
so I love
dreams.
it. I love it, and that's a good opportunity for us to kind of talk about David Andrews and you introducing me to him and what those groups mean and what you're talking about is near and dear to my heart. I'm a throws coach at high school. Right after one of my senior boys graduated, like I'm pretty sure like 7 days after he graduated, he was at my house saying, "Okay, I want to throw that caber." So,
Um,
so we got him prepped up, and he's actually going to try to make one here in September locally. So he is going off to college, University of Cincinnati. Shout out to him, but he is going to try to make one locally. So it's all about passing that spark, lighting somebody else's torch, right?
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, and I think I told you when we first talked, 20 years from now, people won't know my name, but there'll be athletes on the field
Uh,
because of, part of what I've done,
yeah,
and with the other athletes. And that's the whole goal. So, these training groups are so important. I used to do all the training up here in St. Augustine and Jacksonville. I do one training in Jacksonville, then the next month I do one in St. Augustine. Kylie Frazier, who's a known female athlete, that's where she started. She showed up at one of my practices in St. Augustine, and then the next game she competed at, she won Sheaf as a coach.
yeah.
I was so proud that she won Sheaf. Now, of course, she's gone on to much better coaches. I was just a starter coach. She's now under Carrie Overfelt. And
Oh yeah, good OKO, the Godfather of Kentucky,
yes,
who will be on this show.
yes,
Thankfully, I've talked to him, and that's kind of the progression. David sent me to KO,
right.
obviously, but how did you and David become friends? Because he spoke highly of you, and you guys made sure I didn't kill myself, which actually were David's words. Oh, I better teach you before you kill somebody or yourself. And I was like, oh, thanks, man.
He just so Brian and David Andrews,
Yeah,
they're the brothers out on the field. But
yeah,
anyway, I actually met them when I was competing, and I'll be honest, as a woman athlete first coming on, you don't really meet a lot of the men athletes. For me, I was very competitive, and I spent a lot of my time on the field. Besides talking, is trying to learn how to get better.
right.
And, gradually as time went on, I think the very first, you start talking to the other men and stuff on the field. I don't believe I ever had a really solid conversation with David until we went to the Masters World Championship in Tucson. And then after that, this is what I loved about David Andrews. He could be totally, we could not have the same idea and think totally different things, but he would always come and talk to me and he would be truthful, but he was kind
Yeah.
and he was respectful, and he would ask me why I felt a certain way, and if I told him, he'd be like, "I'd see." So I had asked him to become a year before he passed to become our head judge. Because of that, I mean, our communication was wonderful. He was such a great judge. He's one of those that when he comes out on the field, you have full confidence in his ability. And we just, one of the games him and I worked at, it was just him and I judged this game down in Southeast Florida, and it was like 2 million degrees. So, what we were having to do, it's not a big game, but we would take turns judging and have athletes help us pull tape or whatever, and the other one would go and cool down. And we were swapping places back and forth. And then we had dinner afterwards, and that would become our routine. We'd do the game, and then we'd have dinner afterwards. But at this certain game, both of us the next few days were just so sick. I think it was just the heat took its toll. But that was our bonding. So, and then from then on, we had just, before he passed, we were going through the foundation. I made a judge's book for the foundation. I was asked to do so, wow, let's say like 5 years ago or something like that. And I put one together. Of course, she's in NASGA, going through NASGA and other websites and put together a training book for us. And I'd asked him to go through, make sure that we were up to date on it, and we were actually making changes and some of the ideas that he had for judges and how we'd like them to be trained and stuff. So I had just sent him the judge's book for like a final approval before we released it to the athletes, and I didn't hear back. And that's because, he had had a stroke. And
Man.
that would have been our last conversation. I can tell you this, in 2025, every game that I attended, he was missed. So I missed his support, his silliness, his just his. I just missed everything about him during the games, and just yeah, sorely missed. I love him to death, and I was very happy that we honored him at Dunedin.
Yeah, for sure. Same here. And I hope that continues, and I'll continue to honor him in everything I do. Every time somebody asks me, I, say he's the reason why I'm here. So I
Right.
think that's the effect. He planted a lot of seeds, and the
He
tree
did.
the trees are gonna grow. So
Ab-
one day you'll cut them down and toss them, right?
yes.
So I guess, and just to kind of round out, because you've obviously had an impact on me, you've had an impact on David, you've had an impact on other folks. What's some advice you have for folks looking for their tribe? Because it is all different out there. What words of wisdom can you part on anybody that stumbled across this podcast of all places?
Listen, you can't build a tribe if you're not putting yourself out there. That's one of my biggest things. I would not have had, I have friends now across the United States. I can go to Germany and compete. I have friends in Germany. I would have never had that community if I didn't put myself out there. And that's just, it's what you have to do, whether, whatever you're into, it's allowing yourself to be approachable, to be available. If you want to have friends, you got to be a friend. And I just that's I just one reason why I love so much of my Highland family is because they're the same way. They're putting themselves out there. They're loving the sport, and falling in love with the community is just the next step. So we're just all the, regardless of our abilities, we're all out there doing what we love, and we're putting it out there in the field. So my biggest thing for people It's like somebody will say, they'll never have a husband. I said, well, if you stay inside, you're never gonna find one. You got, you got to go out there and you got to experience life and make yourself available. So Highland Games does that. I said friends around the world. Um, it just that's all I have. And if you want a friend, you got to be a friend.
Well, I'm going to take that as some personal advice for this podcast because I hope it doesn't crash and burn. And I'm doing it because of the love of the community. And I want to have a podcast that reflects what we see on the field and we see entertainment on the field. So I
Exactly.
hope my short conversation with you was entertaining for you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and being my first guest. So we'll see how far we can take this.
All right, it's just the sad part is I even did my hair and makeup.
well, listen. I will make sure we get some visual representation of you out here. The podcasters or the folks that listen to the podcast are just going to have to tune in because I do plan on asking you to come back. There will be some New Year's spectacle, a round table sorts, if you will, where people will be getting some invites, and there will be multiple of us on Zoom, and I will have to figure out how to get us all at that round table. So, thank you so
Sounds
much.
wonderful. Oh, you're welcome. I was just honored when you asked me. I was just really honored. Uh, just yeah, just hugged my heart. So I thank you for allowing me to be on your show, your first one.
That's right. That's right. And hey, real quick, does the as the FSA president, is there anything you need to plug real quick for us?
No, I just would love to see as many athletes register for the Deltona game. It's coming up in November. Sorry, I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but it's a brand new game. The organization is so excited about it, and I'd love to have a wonderful turnout and put on a great game. And then don't forget, Clan Kringle is right around the corner the first weekend of December, December 6th at Jason Richards' house. World athlete, and he's amazing. The field's amazing, and we are raising money for Kilted Patriot. So we always choose an organization. What a better, the best organization that's pouring into the Highland community, and now we're pouring into them. So that's our goal, and I'd love to see everybody out there November and December.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening with us today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic interview that was for me. With this just being the first episode of Rally the Tartans podcast, Dawn is huge and launching a bunch of people to their first games, to their first practice group. So it was just a good opportunity for us, and I hope you go look out and find out more information about the foundation and what they're doing and all the games they have in Florida, and it's growing, and I think you'll really enjoy that. So thanks to Dawn for coming on and talking about the foundation. Let's switch over to more of a first timer role here. And if you're a fan of the Highland Games and been around the Highland Games, then you may know this. But for those newcomers that are just coming out and they're going and searching as much information as you can, it's going to be great. Don't worry about it. Just sign up for your first game. There's going to be 9 events. All right, you won't know what to do, but when you get there, there's going to be somebody in a kilt that has done it before and been a first timer before and is going to take you under their wing and show you the process and make sure that you don't hurt yourself or somebody else, which is pretty much what David Andrews told me. He said, well, I guess I better train you before you kill yourself or somebody else. There's video out there of my first throw with the 56-pound weight. And as a grown man that's 6'7", 300 pounds, I was probably about 280 at the time. I threw that weight, but boy, it sure threw me instead of me throwing it. So there is definitely a learning curve, and there's a lot of resources out there for you when you start looking at some of the other events like Stone and things of that nature. There's an open stone where you can spin. It's a lot like shot put. Throwing the stone in the Braemar style is exactly like shot put, just standing still. You don't get to move. Wait for distance. If you've done any kind of wait for distance in high school or college, then that's going to transfer. So going over to like Throws University or something like that online, um, that focuses more in that collegiate style of throwing could be a good resource for you if you're new. But not many folks have a caber in their backyard. Fortunately for me, and pumping the next guest coming in a couple weeks here, August 15th, Jason Perfogli will be on, and he's actually the one that gave me my first caber, and we'll be talking about the art of the caber. So, and the science behind the pick, and the walk and the pull. So, all three phases of the caber. So, that's what we're going to do here. And we appreciate you guys coming on. It's always so fantastic. I can't thank you guys enough for checking this out and supporting what we're doing because, again, we're just trying to support the community, the Highland Games athlete, the Highland Games athletic director, the festival directors, the vendors, the fans, and make this the most enjoyable experience that we can as a team. So looking forward to seeing everybody out on the field. Y'all have a great night. And as we close out the show, I just want to thank everybody that has helped me make this possible. My wife for putting up with me, the kids for always letting me drag them to Highland Games, and of course, my favorite band, Prima Nocta, letting us use Stones and Metal, one of my favorite songs to take the field to, as an intro and an outro track. We definitely appreciate everyone, and we hope that you turn in for episode 2 because we are going to continue to make this show better just for you guys. Have a great one. See you on the field.